I paid off my wife's debts. Then I found out who she owed money to. And trust me, I wish I never had. Hey, I'm Jake. And this is the story of how my life flipped upside down because of one decision. One that I thought was the right thing to do. Turns out, doing the right thing can sometimes screw you over harder than doing the wrong one. It started on a regular Thursday night. I was sitting on the couch, half watching some dumb reality show while scrolling through my phone. My wife, Emily, was acting weird. You know when someone is physically in the room, but mentally, they're miles away? Yeah, that was her. She kept biting her nails, staring at her phone, and jumping at every notification. At first, I ignored it. We all have bad days, right? But then she did something she never does. She turned off her phone completely and shoved it under the couch cushion. That was my first red flag. Everything okay? I asked casually, still looking at my phone. Yeah, she said too quickly. Just tired. Liar. But I didn't push. Not yet. That night, while she was in the shower, curiosity got the best of me. I grabbed her phone. Yeah, I know, privacy and all that. But listen, when your gut screams at you, you listen. The lock screen was flooded with missed calls. Same number. No name. Just a local area code. Something about it felt off. I put the phone back before she caught me. But I didn't sleep much that night. I lay there staring at the ceiling, my mind racing with worst-case scenarios. Was she cheating? Was she in trouble? Was it something worse? The next morning, I checked our bank account, and that's when my stomach dropped. 5 payments, each one a few $1,000s. Gone. Sent to some random account labeled private loan. The most recent one, just last week. My hands clenched into fists. I wasn't mad about the money. I was mad about the lie. Emily and I had been married for 5 years, and I thought I knew everything about her. But clearly, I didn't. I waited until she left for work. Then I called the number that had been blowing up her phone. A deep voice answered. Took you long enough. And that's when I knew. I was already in way deeper than I ever wanted to be. I should have waited. Should have thought it through. But when a deep voice picks up the phone and greets you like they were expecting your call, patience goes out the damn window. Took you long enough, the voice said. I gripped my phone tighter. Who is this? A pause. Then a low chuckle. Doesn't matter. What matters is that your wife owes me money. And now that you're in the picture, I guess you do too. I felt my pulse hammering in my skull. How much? 30 grand. The voice said, casual as hell. And let's just say, I'm not the kind of guy you want to keep waiting. I swallowed hard. She already made payments. I saw the bank records. She's been sending you thousands. Another laugh. Buddy, that wasn't even interest. Click. The line went dead. I stared at my phone, my mind spinning. 30 grand. What the hell had Emily gotten herself into? I needed answers, and I needed them fast. That night, I waited until Emily was asleep before I got back into her phone. I knew it was wrong, but screw it. I wasn't about to let some faceless bastard threaten me without knowing why. Her messages were clean. Too clean. No texts from unknown numbers. No long conversations with anyone suspicious. But then I checked her deleted messages. And that's when I found it. A thread of text from a contact labeled work. But these weren't about work. Work, payment due tomorrow. No delays. Emily, I need more time. Please. Work, you're out of time. Emily, I can get more, I swear. Just a little longer. Work, we're done talking. My stomach twisted. This wasn't a loan. This was a goddamn threat. I copied the number and ran a quick search. Nothing. No business name, no record, nothing legit. Just an empty trail leading nowhere. I sat there, phone in hand, staring at my wife. The woman I thought I knew. The woman I had just bailed out of a financial nightmare I still didn't understand. And for the first time in 5 years of marriage, I wasn't sure if I could trust her. I couldn't sit still. My mind was a swirling mess of numbers, threats, and lies. Emily was hiding something big, and I was done waiting for her to tell me the truth. I needed hard facts, and there was only one place to get them: the bank. I walked in that afternoon, my stomach in knots. The teller gave me a polite smile as I approached. How can I help you today? I need to review some transactions on my joint account, I said, keeping my voice steady. Of course, sir. Do you have your ID? I handed it over, tapping my fingers on the counter as she clicked through the records. Are you looking for anything specific? Yeah, I said. Withdrawals. Large ones. Over the past 6 months. She nodded, scrolled a bit more, and then her eyebrows lifted slightly. There have been quite a few. Do you want me to print the details? Yes, please. A minute later, she handed me the printout, and my stomach dropped. Emily had been withdrawing cash regularly, thousands at a time, sometimes twice in 1 week. The last withdrawal? 10 grand. Just last Friday. I gritted my teeth. These were all from the same branch. She glanced at the screen. Mostly yes, but some were taken from an ATM. Would you like to see security footage for the in-person transactions? I blinked. You can do that. With a manager's approval? Yes. Give me a moment. A few minutes later, I was seated in a small office with a middle-aged manager who looked like he'd seen his fair share of suspicious husbands. He clicked through grainy footage, fast-forwarding through days of transactions. Then he stopped. There she was, Emily, standing at the counter, looking over her shoulder. Nervous. She took the cash, stuffed it into her purse, and practically ran out the door. My pulse pounded. What the hell was she so scared of? You said these were regular withdrawals? I asked. The manager nodded. All in increasing amounts. If you suspect fraud, you might want to take this up with the authorities. Fraud? This wasn't fraud. This was something worse. Something personal. I left the bank with a copy of the transaction records and one thought in my head. I needed to know where that money went. And I needed to know now. I needed someone to talk to. Someone who wouldn't just tell me I was overthinking things. So I called Mark. Mark and I had been friends since college. The kind of friend who tells you the truth, even when you don't want to hear it. And right now, I needed that. We met at a bar downtown. One of those dimly lit places where the whiskey's strong and the bartenders don't ask questions. I barely sat down before I spilled everything. The withdrawals. The phone call. The video footage. Mark whistled low. Damn, man. That's not good. Yeah, no kidding. I took a sip of my drink, barely tasting it. She won't tell me anything. And now I find out she's been pulling out cash like she's funding a small militia? What the hell am I supposed to do with that? Mark leaned back, rubbing his jaw. Okay, let's think about this logically. If money's disappearing, someone's making it disappear. And that someone sure as hell isn't you. Exactly. Which means someone has their hooks in her. He nodded. Question is, who? That was the $1 million question, wasn't it? I ran a hand through my hair. I don't know. But whoever it is, they think I'm part of it now. That call wasn't just a warning. It was a goddamn invitation to the party. Mark frowned. Look, man, you gotta be careful. You ever hear that saying, if you stare into the abyss stares back? Yeah. While you're staring. Hard. And if you're not careful, this thing is gonna pull you in deeper than you ever wanted to go. I sighed, rubbing my temples. What choice do I have? I can't just ignore it. Mark took a slow sip of his beer. Then at least don't be stupid. If she won't tell you the truth, you need to find someone who will. Someone who knows more than she's letting on. I nodded, my mind already racing through possibilities. There had to be someone who knew what was really going on. Someone who could give me answers before this got even worse. Because right now, I had this sinking feeling that worse was coming. Fast. I got home that night, my head still buzzing from everything Mark had said. I couldn't keep circling around this. I needed answers, and I needed them now. Emily was in the kitchen when I walked in, pretending like everything was fine. Like she hadn't been sneaking around, pulling out thousands of dollars, talking to people who clearly didn't play nice. We need to talk, I said, my voice sharper than I intended. She hesitated, then set down her glass of water. Okay, about what? I scoffed. Don't do that. Don't act like you don't know. I saw the bank records, Emily. I saw the withdrawals. I know about the money. Her face went pale. Jake, who the hell are you paying? And don't tell me it's nothing, Because I got a call today from a guy who seems to think I'm part of this now too. Her hands gripped the counter behind her. I can't. Yes, you can. My patience snapped. No more lies. No more I can't explain. You owe me the truth. Right now. She looked at me, her eyes welling up. For a moment, I thought she'd keep fighting, keep up whatever act she'd been playing. But then, she broke. Her shoulders shook as she exhaled sharply. I didn't have a choice. My stomach clenched. What does that mean? She wiped at her face, but the tears kept coming. It means I got involved with the wrong people. A long time ago. Before you. And they don't forget. They don't forgive. A cold wave crashed over me. Who? She shook her head. I can't tell you. If I do, they'll what? Come after me? News flash. They already have. So either you tell me, or I start looking for them myself. She flinched. Please don't. Then talk. She stared at me, then closed her eyes like she was trying to find the right words. But when she finally spoke, all she said was, it's not just about the money. And that's when I realized I was nowhere near the real truth yet. Emily wasn't going to talk. That much was clear. If I wanted answers, I'd have to find them myself. The next morning, I told her I was heading to work early. Instead, I parked a few blocks away and waited. My gut told me she wasn't done with whatever mess she was tangled in. And I was right. An hour later, she left the house in a hurry, clutching her purse like it held something more than just her phone and wallet. I stayed far enough behind that she wouldn't notice me, but close enough not to lose her. She drove across town to a part of the city we never had a reason to visit. Rundown buildings, cracked sidewalks, graffiti-covered walls. She pulled into an abandoned parking lot behind a closed-down auto shop. And that's when I saw him. A man stood by a rusted-out truck, waiting. Tall, built like a linebacker, with a face that looked like it had seen one too many fights. The moment Emily stepped out of the car, he straightened, his stance shifting to something dangerous. I gripped my phone, angling it just enough to take pictures without being obvious. Emily approached him hesitantly, and they spoke in hushed voices. I couldn't hear, but I could see. She was nervous. He wasn't. He leaned in closer, and she flinched. Then he held out his hand. She reached into her purse and pulled out a thick envelope. Cash. Had to be. He snatched it from her and flipped through the bills, nodding like it was just another day at the office. But then, something shifted. His expression darkened. He said something sharp, something that made Emily's shoulders tense. Then he grabbed her wrist. I nearly got out of the car, nearly stormed over and ripped his hand off her. But I forced myself to stay put. I needed more than a gut reaction. I needed to know what the hell was going on. A second later, he let her go, muttered something, and walked off, disappearing into the shadows between the buildings. Emily stood frozen for a moment before rushing back to her car. As she drove away, I exhaled the breath I didn't realize I was holding. I checked my phone. The photos were clear. I had proof. Now, I just needed to figure out what the hell I was supposed to do with it. I wasn't about to sit on my hands and wait for more surprises. That guy Emily met, he had answers, and I was going to get them. The next evening, I tracked him down. It wasn't hard. The kind of man who does business in abandoned parking lots isn't exactly a ghost. A few discreet questions at a bar near the meeting spot led me to a rundown boxing gym on the south side of town. I stepped inside, the air thick with sweat and the sound of fists hitting heavy bags. In the corner, there he was. The same guy from the parking lot, barking instructions at a kid barely old enough to shave. I walked up, keeping my hands loose at my sides. We need to talk. He turned slowly, sizing me up with cold, calculating eyes. Do we? Yeah. About my wife. Emily. At the mention of her name, his expression barely shifted, but I caught the flicker of recognition. You got a death wish, buddy? Not today. Just want answers. He sighed, wiping sweat off his face with a towel. Fine. Let's step outside. We moved to the alley behind the gym. The second the door shut, his whole demeanor changed. He was no longer the coach. He was the collector. The enforcer. Listen carefully, he said, voice low and firm. You don't want to be involved in this. Too late. Tell me what she owes you for. And don't give me the "it's just money" line. This is bigger than that. He smirked. Smart guy? Yeah, it's bigger. She's not paying off some payday loan. She's covering for someone. My stomach tightened. Who? Not my business. Not yours either. But she's been cleaning up someone else's mess for a long time. And if you keep poking around, that mess is going to bury you too. He took a step closer, his presence suffocating. Final warning, walk away. Forget this. Forget me. Forget everything. I clenched my fists. I can't do that. He sighed, almost disappointed. Then you're a dead man walking. With that, he turned and disappeared into the gym, leaving me alone in the dark. I had more questions than ever. But one thing was clear, whatever Emily was caught up in, it was a hell of a lot worse than I thought. I came home that night with a storm in my chest. The warning from that guy at the gym was still ringing in my ears, but it didn't matter. I needed answers, and I needed them now. Emily was in the living room, curled up on the couch, staring at the TV, but I could tell she wasn't really watching it. The second she saw my face, her body stiffened. She knew. Where were you? She asked, her voice careful. I didn't answer. Instead, I walked over, grabbed the remote, and turned off the TV. No more games, Emily. I know. I know you're covering for someone. I know it's not just about money. And I know you've been lying to me since the day this all started. Her hands clenched into fists. Jake. No. No more half-truths. No more dodging. You owe me the truth. All of it. Right now. She exhaled sharply, then looked away. I could see the war inside her, the fight between wanting to protect me and knowing she had no choice anymore. Finally, she spoke. It was before I met you, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. But they never let go. I felt a cold weight settle in my gut. Who? She swallowed hard. I was involved with some people. Bad people. I did things I'm not proud of. I thought I could leave it behind, start over. But they don't forget. And they don't forgive. I took a slow breath, forcing myself to stay calm. What did you do? She hesitated. I moved money for them. Kept things off the books. At first, it was just favors, little things. Then it got bigger, riskier. And when I wanted out, they made sure I knew that wasn't an option. I ran a hand down my face. Jesus, Emily. I didn't think they'd find me again, she said, her voice breaking. I thought if I paid them enough, they'd leave me alone. But they just keep coming back. And now they know about you. My jaw tightened. Then we need to go to the police. She shook her head violently. No, you don't get it. That's not how this works. If I talk, if I even try to run, they'll make sure we both disappear. Silence stretched between us, thick and suffocating. I wanted to be angry. I wanted to yell. But more than anything, I wanted to fix this. I just didn't know how. The tension in the house was suffocating. After Emily's confession, I barely slept. I sat at the kitchen table, gripping a cup of coffee like it could somehow anchor me to reality. But reality had already shattered. Emily was in the bedroom, avoiding me, probably hoping this would all blow over. But I knew better. People like the ones she worked for didn't just take the money and disappear. They wanted more. They wanted control. And now, they wanted blood. A loud knock at the door made me jolt. 3 sharp bangs. Not the kind of knock from a neighbor borrowing sugar. Emily appeared in the hallway, her face pale. Don't answer it, she whispered. Too late. I was already moving. I opened the door, and there he was, the guy from the gym. Only this time, he wasn't alone. 2 other men flanked him, both built like they'd snap my spine without breaking a sweat. Nice place you got here, Jake, the guy smirked. Mind if we come in? Yeah, actually I do. His smirk widened. Not really a request. Before I could react, one of the goons stepped forward and shoved me back. I stumbled, barely catching my footing as they pushed inside like they owned the place. Emily gasped, stepping back against the wall. Sit. The leader commanded, pointing at the couch. I didn't move. Sit down. Now. I clenched my jaw but sat. Emily hesitated before doing the same. The guy pulled up a chair, settling in like he had all the time in the world. See, Jake, there's been a little misunderstanding. Your wife thinks she can buy her way out of things. But that's not how this works. Then how does it work? I forced out. He leaned in. It works when we say it does. Emily took something from us. A long time ago. Money's nice, but it's not enough. Someone wants her to pay in another way. I felt Emily stiffen beside me. What do you mean? The man's smirk disappeared. I mean, someone wants revenge. The room went silent, the words hanging heavy in the air. So here's the deal, he continued. We take Emily with us, and this all goes away. You go back to your little life. Pretend none of this happened. My blood turned ice cold. That's not happening. The man sighed, like he was disappointed. I was hoping you'd say that. He snapped his fingers, and one of the goons moved toward Emily. She shrieked, trying to back away, but I was faster. I lunged, tackling the bastard, sending us both crashing into the coffee table. Chaos erupted. Emily scrambled away as I fought, landing a solid punch before someone grabbed me from behind, yanking me up. Big mistake, the leader said, pulling out a gun. Now you choose, Jake. We take her, or you both don't make it out of here. A choice, one I never thought I'd have to make. And I only had seconds to decide. The house was silent, but the air was thick with everything that had just happened. My knuckles throbbed, my breathing was uneven, and the broken coffee table was a brutal reminder of how close we had come to dying tonight. Emily sat on the floor, hugging her knees, her face streaked with tears. I stood near the door, my fists still clenched, staring at the blood on my shirt that wasn't mine. They were gone. For now. But this wasn't over. Jake. Emily's voice cracked. I don't. My voice was flat. Empty. I didn't even know what I wanted to say. Only that I didn't want to hear whatever excuse she had lined up. She swallowed hard, wiping at her face. I never meant for this to happen. I thought I could fix it before. Before what? Before they came to our house. Before they put a gun to my head. I took a step forward, my anger barely contained. You lied to me, Emily. Again and again. And now I'm in the middle of this mess, and I don't even know what the hell I'm fighting against. She flinched. I was trying to protect you. I let out a humorless laugh. Yeah? How's that working out? Because right now, I don't feel protected. I feel like a walking target. She dropped her head into her hands. I was scared. I still am. I sighed, running a hand through my hair. I wanted to scream, to punch something, to walk away and never look back. But that wasn't an option anymore. The past wouldn't stay buried. And thanks to her, I was a part of it now. What do we do? She whispered. I shook my head. I don't know. But one thing's for sure, we can't stay here. Her eyes widened. You mean leave? Just run. Do you have a better plan? Because those guys aren't done with us. If they wanted to kill us tonight, they would've. They're playing a longer game, and I'm not waiting around to find out what the next move is. She hesitated, then nodded slowly. Okay. I turned away, staring out the window into the dark. I had no idea where we'd go, or if we'd ever be free of this. But one thing was clear. This wasn't just Emily's problem anymore. Now it was mine.